I should not be laughing following the Warriors losing to the Mavericks, but it's Wednesday. That means Kevin Danna's here. The man makes me laugh. We're going to talk about that Warriors-Mavericks game a little more. Kylan and I broke it down in detail last night. But more importantly, Kevin, you're the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. James Wiseman plays for the Santa Cruz Warriors. His name is all over the news. He's the hot topic. You're the expert. We're going to break it all down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by SweatBlock. I feel like I could use some of that today. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, and it's a sweat part, try SweatBlock. Save 20% with promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. It's also available on Amazon. Kevin Danna is not available on Amazon, but he's available on Twitter. You can find him there at Kevo408. You can find me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. Kevin, before we get into the whole Santa Cruz mix, well, I guess I'll leave it to you. Do you want to recap or give your recap at least of the Warriors-Mavericks game last night? Or do you want to address the crowd about you being confused in regards to information out there? You take the floor, man. What do you want to talk about?
I want to make this statement just because I saw my name, and apparently it's happened more than once. People wondering if I'm the source about some stuff that Cyrus reported on a show. I believe it was last Friday that you did with Janelle with respect to Wiseman. And I want to clear that out, that it is not me. I'm not refuting what Cyrus is reporting. I'm just saying the source wasn't me, and B, I haven't seen that. And folks, two things can be true. Like, Wiseman could have a moment where he gets frustrated with someone, and Wiseman could be very good with coaches and a very good teammate in Santa Cruz. From what I've seen from him in Santa Cruz is that he has been a good teammate. Let me finish a sentence before I move on to the next one. I was at practice on Monday. He was taking to coaching well. He was involved with his teammates and stuff. He wasn't showing off teammates or anything like that. I saw him working after practice on like the stuff that they're trying to get him to work on, your 2-on-1 situations where he's the one back defensively and stuff, and he was engaged in all that. And so from what I have seen, he has been a good teammate. What people behind the scenes have told me is that the kid has a heart of gold, and that he's, his heart is into it and stuff, and he works hard. And what Seth Cooper told me is that he is a perfectionist, and so if he's frustrated at himself. And he's really hard on himself. Seth Cooper says, possession, he'll do 95% of the things right, and it's the 5% that just gnaws at him and stuff, and he wants to get that 5% wrong. I've seen him watch extra film with Seth Cooper, the head coach of the Santa Cruz Warriors. So that's what I have seen from James Wiseman. I personally like him a lot. Also, I want to say, if I were to see any of those, negative things, trust me, fans, I wouldn't be telling you guys. And I know that sounds terrible, and it makes me a crappy co-host. But, if it makes me a crappy co-host, it also makes me less likely to get in hot water with my actual employer, the Golden State / Santa Cruz Warriors. I hate to be that guy. Actually, I don't hate to be that guy, because I love money and I love working for the Santa Cruz Warriors. But also, I want people to know kind of the how our relationship works. Like, Cyrus has never asked me for inside info and stuff. Like, he understands what position I'm in that. And so, so Cyrus has been very respectful of that. And like, Cyrus has plenty of sources. He's been in the media game for decades. So like, he can go to plenty of people for plenty of things. I have not been one of his sources for anything James Wiseman related or anything Golden State related, just to clear that up.
No, it's a good clear. And just to add to that, like, anything that any discussion we have about Santa Cruz, I just save it for the show, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather have everyone else hear it too. And just to clarify what we're talking about, last Friday on Locked On Warriors, Janelle Moore was on with me, and we were talking about Wiseman, and I'm sure that's going to dominate today's show. So we referenced a game earlier this season where he was involved in a pick and roll with Stephen Curry. It was a sloppy pick and roll. Wiseman rolls to the low post, isn't fed the ball, and he expresses frustration. And then I had and then later on, and that everyone saw that. And then later on, I had two people tell me that I didn't name the other player, and I still won't name him just because it doesn't matter. But another player during a timeout was trying to offer advice to Wiseman in regard to his verticality, and Wiseman just kind of brushed it off. He just was not hearing it, didn't want to hear it. And that's the extent of what was reported. I saw a lot of hyperbole. I heard a lot of that pieces of information resulting in him having like a horrible attitude. I never said that. Nobody said that. It was just it's just two incidents. One was very public. One was more esoteric. You had to either be there, and I wasn't, but I had a couple people tell me about it, and I trust them. Yeah, so just wanted to let everyone know what's going on.
And I didn't see that situation, but I'm not saying that situation didn't happen. All I'm saying is like when that, like the way that the situation is described to me is a situation where I would just not have my eyes directed during the course of the game, so I couldn't see it happen. Yeah. So like I can't say one way or another that it happened or not. I'm not saying that Cyrus is wrong as reporting. I have no opinion on that.
Yeah, I trust my source. And I'll never throw you under the bus. From now on, if anything happens in Santa Cruz and I report it without naming my sources, I will add a disclaimer. Kevin Danna did not tell me.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to add a disclaimer. They should just watch this 7 minutes and take it as gospel. No, I will tell you this. Like, I'm not going to make up stuff about a player just to make it sound rosy. Like, if James Wiseman was like just a total like D-bag to people in Santa Cruz, I'm not going to come here and say, oh, he's a model citizen, or like I'm not going to cover up a DUI that a guy has or anything like that. I'm not going to say, oh, he's the best guy, yada yada yada. He saved a cat from a tree or something like that. Like, but so like I'm not going to make that stuff up. Like, all right, I might not say certain things that like are like team like kind of like not secrets, but you keep some things in house. Like I've been on his staff before when I was a manager at Stanford. I saw tons of things that like I still keep to myself to this day. And now maybe that we're like 14 years out, maybe I keep a little less stuff, and maybe I'm a little more like free flowing with some info from stuff that doesn't matter. But nowadays, but like I won't make stuff up. And like I'm not making it up when I have like someone come to me and say, the kid has a heart of gold, in an off the record, conversation. So I wouldn't, mention it, but like they genuinely like James. The people that I've talked to genuinely like James Wiseman. And so I just wanted to put that out there, and I'm not making that up from, the conversation I had, at practice or, the interactions that I've seen. He is working hard. That's all the stuff I've seen. So yeah. Okay. That's what I have to say about that. And if something else comes to my mind, but yeah, I have thought about this only because I saw that people were surmising that it might be me, and I care about myself first and foremost. If the block gets too hot, I will tell everyone that, and the Warriors ask me to, not do a podcast or whatever, which they haven't. No one has told me to say this. This is the way I think. If they tell me not to go on podcasts anymore, I will tell people that Cyrus Saatsaz was the one who cooked up coronavirus in a lab at his desk at St. Mary's, where he's a professor for journalism. So I have no shame. It is about protecting myself first and foremost. And there we go.
Well, you have, and just to add to that, you have no incentive to disseminate clickbait type content, right? I mean,
thank you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. That was the one other point to make. Just so you people know, like I am a play-by-play you people. That sounds like kind of pejorative. I didn't mean it like that. Just so you know,
you're an elitist, Kevin. You're everyone else. I'm kidding. I'm teasing. I'm joking.
Yeah, no. But yeah, like my goals are not to like be a host or a personality or like some type of influencer. I want to do games.
Mhm.
And like if I were to like be like someone who is seen as a source for all this stuff, guess what? Teams aren't going to trust me to be their play-by-play guy. So like it makes zero sense for me to be like a source handing out like information that could be seen in a negative light. So like I'm just not going to do that, and like it doesn't make sense for me. So I wanted to like explain why it wouldn't make sense for me to be like one of those guys who's handing out information about the team that he's working for, because like it just like would destroy my career, and I have no interest in doing that.
There you go. And again, the exact, and like I said, I will make it very clear from now on. I don't want people to assume that you're feeding me content. I save you for this show because I want the clicks. I want those numbers. So I save you for this program. And in just a moment, we're going to really get into Wiseman because you're the play-by-play voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. You've seen him up close now for, I believe, 5 games. And we need to break him down because James Wiseman is a borderline polarizing figure when it comes to Dub Nation, and his role is still undetermined. He still might be an important part of this team this year. We'll talk about that and so much more. First, got to give some love to SweatBlock. This is something that Kevin Danna last Friday needed when he was sweating with Twitter, just calling him out everywhere as a source of potentially fabricated information. I'm teasing, obviously. But look, SweatBlock is awesome. I actually need it today. I'm sweating for no good reason. It's like unusually warm here. I don't know why. But if you sweat profusely, if you stink, SweatBlock is for you. They give you the confidence to wear what you want without embarrassing sweat. You don't have all those ruined t-shirts anymore. For the gentlemen and women out there who have seen their shirts get ruined because of deodorant bars and sticks and stuff, SweatBlock wipes were featured and tested on the Rachel Ray show by firefighters. So if firefighters are giving testimonials for this, yeah, I'd say that's a valid endorsement, folks. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try SweatBlock. Save 20% with the promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. Again, 20% off with the promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. It's also available on Amazon.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen today. After us, check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today. It's available on whatever app you're listening to right now, YouTube if you're watching us here, and wherever you get your podcast. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. Let's see if there's anything to chat before we move on. Dynasty Dom, what is up? Roy Barden's like, what's going on here? It's all my fault. It's always my fault. Absolutely. Rico is saying the Dubs looking good. They'll be ready for the playoffs. Playoffs, yes. Championships, another discussion that we'll have in just a moment. Rico Suave also says, I have a love-hate relationship with James Wiseman. And then Roy Barden also adds, love the Kuminga rebound. Let's just love the Kuminga performance from that Mavericks game. We'll touch on that in a moment. But I want to start off while you're here, Kevin. I want to talk about James Wiseman. I looked at his stats through 5 games with the Golden State Warriors. I'm sorry, the Santa Cruz Warriors. And the numbers, I'll leave the interpretation of that to you. But just to let people know, in 5 games, he's averaging 15 points per game. He's averaging 9.6 rebounds per game. The assist numbers aren't there. Who cares? That's not really anything to you're not relying on him for that. He's shooting 28.6% from 3. That's below what he was shooting his rookie year with the Golden State Warriors. But his field goal percentage is much better at 58.2. That I'm happy with. So those are the basic numbers. Those are the foundation of what he's doing so far. But you're there. You're calling every game. How is Wiseman looking after 5 games, man? Give us that breakdown, sir, please.
Okay, yes. So I want to start with his blocks because this is annoying the hell out of me. They missed 3 blocks that he got in Salt Lake City, which, all right, I probably shouldn't throw a scorebook, a G-League teams like table under the bus. This is the same team that said Elgin Cook played 55 seconds in a game that he had like a broken foot. And it torpedoed his points per game average down like a point per game. This is in the 2016-17 season. That's why if you look at my Twitter bio, it says Elgin Cook G-League stats truther.
Right.
It's probably because Salt Lake City like kind of dropped the ball. And so through 3 blocks over the course of a 50-game season, yeah, it's probably nothing. But at this point, like it would raise his blocks per game average from 1.2 to 1.8, which is significant. And so his rim protection on that front is better than what it looks like because they just flat out have missed some blocks. He has 9 blocks in 5 games, not 6. So I wanted to throw that out there. So it's almost 15, 10, and 2 instead of 15, 9.5, and 1.
Yeah.
What I've noticed from James is that he has been much stronger in the second half, at least in like the third quarter. Then kind of he'll have a little lull in the first half, and then the second half of the Salt Lake City game, the second Salt Lake City game, he really came to life and finished with, I think that was the game he finished with 12 and 8, and it was it was a better. I can't remember if that was the game he finished with 12 and 8 or not, but he played much better after having minimal impact in the first half. The game on Saturday, he was really good for like the first 3.5 quarters, and then some things kind of started to pile up on him. Like he stayed out of foul trouble until like the last 2 minutes of the game, and he picked up 2 pretty tough fouls. I think one was an illegal screen, and then one was diving for a loose ball, down 1 with like 40 seconds to go. And I think that got his foul total up to 4 for that game. But he was at like 2 for much of that game. And that game's going to look bad. I mean, he had a double-double in that game. The main guy he was up against, now he wasn't responsible for all this guy's points, Neemias Queta. He's on a 2-way contract with Sacramento. He had 38 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 blocks. So that looks bad. But like, A, it wasn't all on James Wiseman. And B, like James, I thought for the most part looked pretty good until some things started to go south for him down the stretch. Mike Taylor, I'm not sure if you were 7 foot, you'd be eons better than James Wiseman. I'd like to, if this is the Mike Taylor who was drafted out of the Idaho Stampede, then okay, I might take you seriously because that guy was a baller, but he was like a 6'2" point guard. But like, so yeah, that's what I've seen. Like as the game goes on, he gets more and more comfortable, like with he has a pretty nifty, like 10 to 15 foot push shot that he's pretty good at. He's gotten more aggressive on offense, more demanding of the basketball, like, wanting the ball more in the post, which has been good to see, but that's also not necessarily what he's there for. And I think I know what Jordan Poole's intent was when he was talking, hyping James up, and he's telling the media, look, I told James to go down there, get 50 shots up a game. Like, that was never going to happen because that's not James Wiseman's role in the NBA. Like, for Jordan Poole, yeah, he's a guy who has the ball in his hands. When he's up in Golden State, he's going to be playing with the ball in his hands a good chunk of the time. So when he was in Santa Cruz, it made sense for him to just make as many mistakes as possible and get up as many shots as possible. So like his stats scoring wise were always going to look a ton better than James Wiseman because James Wiseman can handle the ball pretty well for his size, but he's not like your point guard. And so he's not going to have the ball nearly as much. And so he's not going to get Jordan Poole numbers. And I hope people realize that you can't necessarily judge how his assignment's going based off the points per game alone, which, 15 is fine. That's cool. And I would like the rebounding number to be a little bit higher, right? Like you're 7-1. He's rebounding at almost 1 every 3 minutes right now. It was 9.6 rebounds. What is he averaging? 26 minutes a game? Okay.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Is that 1 every 2.85? I don't know. Whatever that. It should probably be closer to one rebound every 2 minutes.
Let me ask you this. Mike Taylor brings up I mean, you did own him with the 7-foot comment. I love that. But he does respond with a point that a lot of people are echoing, and I'd love to get your insights on this. And that's
So,
Wiseman's hands. And let's save that for just a moment because I have to give some love to another
okay, yeah.
sponsor. That is a tease, folks. And this is like a relatively new sponsor. I should have probably rehearsed this before reading it, but here we go. So we all know how ExpressVPN protects your privacy and security online, right? But here's something you might not know. You can also use ExpressVPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. Maybe you've run out of stuff to watch on Netflix. This will change your world. ExpressVPN allows you to binge The Office on UK Netflix. It's so simple to do. You just sign up into Netflix, fire up the ExpressVPN app, change my location to the UK, refresh Netflix, and that's it. Is this legal? My God, this sounds awesome.
Hey, that's how Americans play on Poker Stars, by using VPN.
There you go. ExpressVPN lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries. So just imagine all the Netflix libraries you can go through. You just heard Kevin Danna talk about poker, how you can get yourself into a lot of fun with ExpressVPN. There's also other streaming services, Hulu, BBC, iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. Hundreds of VPNs out there, but the reason we use ExpressVPN to watch shows is because it's ridiculously fast. There's never any buffering or lag, and you can stream in HD, no problem. So if you want to get access to hundreds of new shows, go to expressvpn.com/locked-on right now, and you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/locked-on, expressvpn.com/locked-on to learn more. That sounds amazing. I might have to get one myself.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Kevin Danna is available on Twitter at Kevo4Wade. We were talking about James Wiseman's hands. We've seen him fumble the ball a lot. We've seen him just and look, you've mentioned this. I've heard other people mention this as well. It's not the size of his hands that's a problem. Okay, his hand size is fine. In your opinion, why do you think he's having issues controlling the ball, and has that improved through the 5 games so far in Santa Cruz?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said he hasn't fumbled the ball once in Santa Cruz. Like, I've seen him drop a pass or two. I do think, like, I could be wrong. The season was 2 years ago, but I remember him catching passes a lot better his rookie year than he was in his first 10 games. And that's what it leads me to believe that, like, he's working through, like, it's a confidence issue. Where what I mean is that if we talked about how Seth Cooper says he's hard on himself. He's a professional.
Seth Cooper's the head coach of the Santa Cruz Warriors.
He's the head coach. Thank you. Yeah. Head coach of the Santa Cruz Warriors. So if he's hard on himself after just messing up a defensive assignment, which, look, it's not a stretch to say that he struggled defensively with Golden State to start this year, that's going to affect how he plays on the other end. And I saw it I can't tell you how much of it is like confidence versus other things, but like I'm pretty sure he can catch a pass like pretty well. I think it's more like, all right, if I've messed up on the defensive end and I'm hard on myself, it's going to affect how I play on the offensive end. And like, yeah, it hasn't been always clean catches in Santa Cruz, but the fumbles have been less than what they were up in Golden State. So that's how I would answer that. And to
are you talking about his alley-oop timing, this comment?
Oh, alley-oop timing. Yeah.
I don't know where you get that stat from. I mean, I don't know how you find that, but according to Mike Taylor, who's watching the show live on YouTube, James Wiseman misses 70% of his alley-oops. Again, I've never seen that stat before, but for the sake of argument, let's say it's true. Have you seen that? Is that a thing you've noticed yourself where lobs are being tossed to him and he's fumbling or missing?
He has missed some lobs in Santa Cruz. I think as he gets himself kind of because like his rookie year, he was finishing these pretty cleanly, and so I think it's a matter of getting back to where he was his rookie year.
Agreed. Agreed. I think what I see with Wiseman a lot that's the problem is confidence, and that's where his rookie year, like Kerr wasn't pulling him if he was making mistakes. He was getting his 21 minutes. He was in the rotation. And from that, his rookie year, he was averaging 11.5 points per game. He was averaging 6 rebounds per game in just 21 minutes. So I agree with you. Like what we saw his rookie year and what we're seeing now is very different. And I do agree with you that I attribute that largely to his confidence. And the question is he going to regain it in Santa Cruz? Why in Santa Cruz is James Wiseman only averaging 26 minutes per game? Is that just a health reason? Is that like that seems low for a player who they're trying to give experience to and who they want to give reps to? Why just 26 minutes?
No, well, I mean, so it's a 5-game sample size, and there were like a couple of his minutes have been trending upwards a little bit. He has been closer in the high 20s recently, but like his first game or two out there, like there's a difference between being in shape and being in game shape.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be in shape all you want, you could be as conditioned as you want, but it's different when you're playing in an actual game. And so that was kind of the difference. Like he had to get used to, like he hadn't played heavy regular season game minutes in forever, right?
Yeah.
So that is like what kind of led him to be around the 25 to 26. And as he plays more, I think we're going to see him at 30 plus minutes a game in Santa Cruz. He's been trending that way. I got to pull up his game log here so I can give accurate information. Hold on. NBA. So G-League.
What are you looking for? Because I have it in front of me.
His minutes. So, all right. So, yeah. So 26, 24, 26, 28, 27. So like a slight uptick in recent games for James Wiseman. That 24, a little bit of an outlier. And so, yeah, I think that number is going to go up a little bit more. They also have Travion Williams, though, who's like pretty good. And so, like, you don't want to completely like get him out of the lineup either. For those who saw him in Golden State training camp, you saw a little bit of what he can bring.
I like him.
Yeah, he's a fun player to watch. And so, like, you got to make sure you get him out there as well.
So they can't do a twin tower setup like the Timberwolves are doing, like where you play them both?
I'd be interested to see that. I mean, way back in the day, Santa Cruz used to throw both Jeremy Tyler and Mikel Gladness out there. Tyler's, 6'10", 6'11". Mikel Gladness, like 6'11" with a 7'8" wingspan. But that was a different day. And it's like, would Golden State play like 2 7-footers at the same time? And so if like they're not going to do it in Golden State, like they're probably not going to do it in Santa Cruz.
No.
So that's the best I can answer the minutes question.
I personally love Travion just in summer league. I thought, and he got let go really early in training camp, but I'm happy he's with Santa Cruz. But let me ask you this, man, and this is where opinion's going to come in, because a lot of people are think that Wiseman should be traded. I think the way the Warriors are going right now, I think they'll be okay this year. I'm happy JaMychal Green settled into a role with the team, and please disagree with me if anything I say you don't agree with. But I feel like JaMychal Green has settled into that backup center role. So I don't know if you need Wiseman, right? In terms of a necessity, I think they could survive keeping him in Santa Cruz until the end of the season, which is what, like January, February, I think.
End of March.
Oh, end of March. So Wiseman could stay with the team all the way through March, or is there a cutoff for him to have to come back if he's going to? Okay, then great.
I mean, like the playoffs go until the middle of April. He could theoretically play until the middle of April. Like when the Warriors won their first championship in 2014-15, James Michael McAdoo and Ognan Kuzmic were both on assignment for the G-League finals at the end of April.
Fascinating. So, and they were still eligible to come back to the roster. Okay. So there could be a strong possibility he stays with the team until March, April, right? And maybe that's the path, because he is a number 2 pick. Granted, the Warriors just had crappy luck in having the number 2 pick in one of the worst drafts of the last 10 years. It's not like another draft where you look back, like let's say Darko Milicic or Markelle Fultz, where you're looking at the draft and going, damn, they should have gotten someone else instead, right? You weren't going to pick Halliburton at number 2. That just would have been crazy. If the Warriors had done that, people would have been scoffing at them. So it was just a crappy draft. It just wasn't a lot of options there. They went with the most talented player, I think, certainly most athletic and with maybe the highest ceiling. What's your take in terms of a lot of fans? Again, he's kind of become polarizing, thinking the Warriors should trade him. Do you think they will? Do you think they should? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to trade him or not. Like that's a conversation way above my head.
Yeah.
I guess the calculus you would have to do is if you decide to trade James Wiseman, what can you get for James Wiseman right now? I mean, I'm not sure what the value is on the market for him. So that would be something to take into consideration. I don't know. Like, I am generally a guy who doesn't like trades. Like, the Warriors won a title without James Wiseman last year.
Yes, they did.
And to your point, I think they can win a title without James Wiseman being a significant contributor, or they can compete for a title again without him being a significant contributor, because they did it last year. Now the roster makeup's a little bit different, but you mentioned it. JaMychal Green is coming into his own really nicely. Hopefully the three starts to come for him, but he's been finishing really well around
He's
the rim.
awful right now.
He used to be a really decent 3-point shooter, but it hasn't
He did,
been
you're right.
couple of years. But like, they can just kind of let Wiseman cook in the G-League. I don't know how long he's going to be in Santa Cruz. Like, as far as I know, the plan is for him to play this weekend against the Stockton Kings. They got a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday. And I don't know beyond that. They said it was an extended stint in Santa Cruz, around 10 days. What Steve Kerr said, what was that, the middle of November? So it's already been longer than 10 days. But yeah, they don't need to trade him right now. So yeah, I mean, there's still 2 months until the trade deadline, so they can see how things play out. I don't know if they're going to trade him or not. I am always kind of a guy that's more of a let's wait and see what we have kind of dude. But
Yeah.
But look, if you get a good offer that you can't pass up, then I mean, obviously that's something you got to consider. I also just am not gonna go out here demanding for someone to be traded for a team that I work for either.
Right,
So,
right.
But like, honestly, like, in generally speaking, I think you kind of let things play out a little bit until you absolutely have to make a decision one way or another.
Well, let me ask you this. NBA 876 writes, I know you got to run here. We'll end this in just a moment. NBA 876 writes that Wiseman is just not a good fit for the team. The Santa Cruz Warriors run the same system as the Golden State Warriors, and that's by design, so that players who are developing in Santa Cruz can come back to Golden State and just fit in seamlessly. So how is Wiseman looking in Santa Cruz? He's getting the extended minutes. Does he look like a good fit to you in the Warrior system?
I think what he's learning in Santa Cruz is how to become a good fit. Because obviously, I mean, if you take a look at the numbers, it hasn't worked with him on the floor in Golden State this year. Like, that's, you take a look at net rating, his plus minus and all that. And so what his time in Santa Cruz is to learn how to be a good fit. And someone asked me a question. I did want to answer it, and I can answer it in the Orlando 28. Seth Cooper not catering to the develop. He's asking Seth Cooper said he's not going to cater to the development of the Sendowns, Wiseman, PBJ, and Rollins. So I think I know what quote you're talking about, because if I understand correctly, this is coming from a press conference that I was a part of. And basically what he's saying is, what Seth was trying to say, if I understood him clearly, is that, look, you develop through winning. And so, yeah, they're trying to win games in Santa Cruz, but they are trying to develop these guys. Like, the game against Stockton, a big reason why they lost is because Stockton had a 5-year NBA veteran out there in Wesley Iwundu, Neemias Queta, who played 3 full years of college and is his second year in the NBA. And Jordan Ford, who played, I think, 4 years in college. At least 4 years in college, maybe a fifth, but certainly not less than 3, and is in his 3rd year in the G League. They just had guys in their mid-20s against PBJ, Wiseman, and Rollins. And even if those guys aren't currently on NBA contracts, Queta is on a 2-way contract. But even if those guys aren't on NBA contracts, they do have a lot more professional experience than PBJ, Rollins, and Wiseman. And so yeah, you're trying to develop them through winning. You're trying to put them in winning situations to help them win. And there was just a lot of youth out on the floor. And so, yeah, so Wiseman was out there on the floor when Santa Cruz blew an 18-point fourth quarter lead. He wasn't the only young guy, though, that was out there on the floor. And these things happen in the G League. So, yeah, so like Seth is not like eschewing their development for wins. He's trying to eschew their development through putting them in situations where the game is on the line.
There you go. And I'm laughing because Gilbert Arbalo, if I hope I pronounced that correctly, writes Quindary raising the John Cusack speakers, referring to Quindary Weatherspoon, wanted to come back to the Warriors. I know you got to go. I'm gonna end on this note real quick, and then we'll end it. The Warriors hired a year or two ago Dejan Milojevic. I hope I pronounced that rightly. He's the assistant coach, hired specifically to develop and coach the Warriors bigs. Is he in Santa Cruz? And if he's not, Rick Barry, I host a show with him as well, the Hall of Famer. He said that Clifford Ray would be perfect to develop James Wiseman. So is Dejan there? And if not, what are your thoughts on why he's not there? And if Clifford Ray, like, I don't know, just your thoughts on all that as we go.
Yeah, Dejan is not there in Santa Cruz. He's an assistant coach for Golden State. So that's why he's not there.
Gotcha. I thought he was brought in, though, to coach bigs. I mean, the Warriors don't really have anyone that he could really work with. That seems, is that weird to you that he's not in Santa Cruz helping out? Or
I mean, I hadn't even thought about that, to be honest.
And you're familiar with Clifford Ray, the former Golden State Warriors legend. He's developed a lot of bigs over the years. Like, I would love to see that. I think the Hall of Famer Rick Barry is onto something here, but who knows? I don't know. Any final thoughts, Kevin, before we wrap it up? I know you got to run, man.
No, I'm sorry. I got to dip.
Let's go. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you to Kevin Danna. Follow him on Twitter at Kevin4Wade. You can follow me on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow and this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Kevin, thank you, my brother. Thanks to everyone. Peace.
Thank you.